What up, YouTube? Here with a prediction video for the David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant fight. It's this Saturday, and this fight is major in the super middleweight division because both David Benavidez and Caleb Plant are top level fighters in the super middleweight division, and whoever wins this fight could potentially challenge the undisputed super middleweight champion in the future, and that is Saul Canelo Alvarez. And we know Saul Canelo Alvarez beat Caleb Plant to become the undisputed super middleweight champion. And however, Canelo Alvarez hasn't fought David Benavidez yet, who is unbeaten and never lost the WBO super middleweight title. But yeah, he had to vacate it due to a failed drug test. And ever since he had to vacate that title, David Benavidez, since he came back into action, he's been on the road to try and gain back his super middleweight title. And it's a good look for him because only one man holds all the titles at the super middleweight division. And if he gets a chance and possibly win the super middleweight title, he would become the undisputed super middleweight champion, right? See how that works out? Anyways, let's get to the breaking down part of what to expect come Saturday for this fight with David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. Both fighters, as I said, are high-level fighters at the super middleweight division, and Caleb Plant, I say, is the better fighter when it comes to technical ability. And Caleb Plant, I think what's going to help him in this fight versus Benavidez is the jab of his and his feints that he uses to set up his offense. And David Benavidez is a fighter who relies on his high guard as his defensive mechanism. And his high guard gets brought up a lot whenever his opponent is using the feints. And Caleb Plant is a fighter who relies on his feints a lot. And that's going to call for David Benavidez to bring up his high guard a lot in this fight. And that leaves space for Caleb Plant to launch his offense at David Benavidez when Benavidez has a high guard, not occupying the space slot with him and his opponent, and not being busy with the hands. And that's what's gonna help Caleb Plant possibly set up his combos and his hooks to the body, because he likes to throw punches to the body, and that high guard of David Benavidez leaves the body open for attacks there. And that's a component, an element that David Benavidez has to look out for in this fight. And Caleb Plant, I say, has the better footwork. He's more agile and more athletic than David Benavidez, and that's why I think David Benavidez is going to have a tough time cutting off the ring versus Caleb Plant, who is faster on the feet than him. And David Benavidez, he lacks when it comes to fundamentals, when it comes to the footwork department, because he tends to lead with his back foot and overstep with his back foot instead of marching forward with his lead foot, and that leaves him to be off balance and squaring up a lot of the times, and that would leave openings for his opponents to attack. And a fighter like Caleb Plant, who is a skilled fighter when it comes to the technical side of things of boxing, could take advantage of that. And David Benavidez, what he's gonna look forward to is to catch Caleb Plant leaping and lunging and reaching with his at times wild punches that he tends to throw towards his opponents. And he relies on his athleticism whenever he lunges and reaches versus his opponents when he's not in range. And David Benavidez is a good counterpuncher. And when Caleb Plant reaches to attempt to land his punches and he misses, David Benavidez could take advantage of that. And that's something Caleb Plant has to look out for. And another component that Caleb Plant has got to look out for is, instead of using pivots or clinching to get out of dodge and get in a comfortable range to where he could avoid shots from his opponent, he tends to back up out just straight. And that leaves him open to shots from his opponents. And that's something you gotta look out for versus a power puncher like David Benavidez. And those are some of the components that, as boxing fans, that y'all should look for when this fight happens with David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. And as far as who I'm picking to win this fight, I want to see David Benavidez win this fight because I think that's the only fighter that's fighting at a top level in the super middleweight division that hasn't challenged Canelo Alvarez for the super middleweight title. And Canelo Alvarez had already defeated Caleb Plant. And whoever wins this fight sets themselves up to a potential title shot. And there was a clear winner in that fight with Saul Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant. That's why I don't have any interest in wanting to see that fight again. Caleb Plant did all right before getting stopped and knocked out. That's why I'm hoping for David Benavidez to win this fight, not on some favoritism-ish. However, to be a educated boxing fan who's making YouTube videos about boxing, I'm gonna say Caleb Plant is gonna outpoint David Benavidez. I think his technical ability is gonna lead him to outpoint David Benavidez, and I think he's gonna fight a smart fight where he's gonna keep the distance with him and David Benavidez and avoid getting trapped into certain spots in the ring. And I think he's gonna rely on his footwork and his faster footwork and his ability to maneuver throughout the ring and to use feints and to lead with his feints and jabs to set up his offense and combinations. And I think he's gonna outland David Benavidez when it comes to accurate punching. And David Benavidez, if he wants to win this fight, he's gonna have to look for moments where he could catch Caleb Plant where he lacks at. And I had already pointed out those factors, and that is more of a harder thing to make happen than to rely on the technical skills of the sport of boxing. Anyways, y'all let me know who y'all picking to win for this fight this Saturday with David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. Comment, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. And I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.